Hey everyone, I'm super excited today because I have Dan with me here, who is an absolute legend. He's been doing Amazon now for I think 3 or 4 years, and it's been to an incredible journey. Yeah, I'm just really excited to have him on here and have him share some of his journey and advice with all of you. I think you'll get a tremendous amount out of it. So I think we'll just get right into it then. First off, yeah, thanks so much for taking the time out. And I want to start by asking you, like, let's say before this all began, was that like 4 years ago? What were you doing? Like, why did you get into this?
Okay, first of all, thanks for having me on, Daniel, and hey to everybody. Okay, so yeah, I started about 4 years ago. So it was 2014. I started a company back when I'm 39 now. Started a company when I was 30 back in Sydney, Australia, and that was much more your bricks and mortar type business. It was actually holistic medical centres. And I ran that business for several years, and it just absolutely burnt me out. I was just absolutely cooked from just working crazy hours, and it actually really affected my health. So kind of 2014, I decided, okay, I've got to do something different. What else do I want to do? And so I sat down with my girlfriend at the time, Monica, who's now my actual wife and business partner, which we'll talk about in a minute. And we basically sat down and said, what do we want from life? Where do we want to be? What does it mean to us to have a really great life? And for us, we wanted to have that freedom financially. We wanted to have freedom to travel, to be wherever we wanted to be remotely and work from anywhere. And the thing that we said was, if we can't do it from a hammock, we're going to say no. And it's quite funny. A course that you did with a couple other guys popped into my inbox, which was a webinar, how to make lots of money on Amazon. And I thought, oh yeah, I'll check it out. I was curious about different opportunities. Watched this webinar, and by the end of it, I had the credit card out, and I'm like, right, I'm in. And I was just psyched for it. I just really wanted to do the opportunity. I convinced Monica to do it, and we started, while I was still full-time working. Monica was full-time working as well. And it took us about 6 months to get our first product up. And we launched the first one November 2014. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. So it's been like almost 4 years, right?
Yeah, nearly 4 years. So we launched that product in 2014. We launched a few products around that time. They took off. We chose the right products, and they did very well very quickly. And so we actually moved to Bali, Indonesia, where we live now, in March 2015. So right at the start of our business. And for us, it was actually a good decision, because this is a great place to, as a lifestyle business, we actually got to upgrade our lifestyle for less money. Yeah. So we had more money to put into the business, and we had a much nicer environment to actually build our business.
Yeah, exactly. And so this was like the first internet business you started, right? Just right away.
Yeah, so it's quite funny. Monica always jokes. She actually helped me install my first app on my phone not long before we started the Amazon business. So I'm not technical in any way at all, but I don't do anything by halves. So when I decided to do this, I was like all in, 500%. And, I put a lot of time in. Anyone that says this sort of, you see people out there saying the Amazon business is easy, and, that you can do it with a few hours a week. And, I'd say no chance. If it's a serious business, you got to put the work in. And I did. I and still now, we're 4 years in, and it's keeping up with the growth is one of the tough things. But we're still working really hard, and that's okay. That's business.
Yeah, and you get what you put into it, right? So if you put a 500% into it, then you're gonna probably see some incredible things. So if you don't mind, I want to ask you right away, like, how far have you guys gone in a month? Like, what's the biggest month you've had so far?
Biggest month was actually April just gone. We hit 440K US for global sales. And that's pretty nice. And most importantly, Daniel, something we've talked about a lot is, we've managed to keep our profitability sort of just under 20% net profit, like EBITDA. So we've really, really focused on trying to get our profitability there, because it's very easy to just keep building that top line revenue, but you never feel like you got any money. Especially in this business where the demand on the inventory is just so huge all the time, especially if you want to launch more and more products.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I can say, like, from working with you a bit, like, you have a really intense approach, like you go all in, but this is what you get when you really put your heart into something, and I think it's amazing to just see what you've been able to do in like 3.5 years. And I want to, start from the beginning. Like, so for people that maybe haven't really, gone far yet, like, because I want them to see that you can, go and build something incredible if you put it in enough effort and time and energy, right? But when you started, like, what did you start out like? Was it just one product? Did it go slow? Did it go fast? Did you have ups and downs? And what was it like at the beginning?
Yeah, so maybe if I can tell you a little bit about how our business works, first of all. So there's essentially Monica and I run the business together. And we're a very lucky couple in that way that it actually works. So we have extremely different work styles. Monica essentially does all of the front end. So she does the product research, product development, deals with the suppliers. She does all of that kind of groundwork to actually get a product up and running. And she's very good at the creative. She can find, essentially white labeled products, but then just change them and customize them to make them look absolutely amazing. And then they just knock it out of the park. And so once the product's ready to go into production, that's when I jump in and I help with all the logistics, the finance side of it. All of the things that I'm trying to think, that's all the stuff I did back then, the marketing, basically everything once the product's ready to go, that's what I look after. So I guess Monica's kind of head of product and I guess in that CEO role, but I'll tell you about it in a bit. Now we've got a team that does a lot of it. But so yes, back then we started with 2 different products and there was a couple of different models of one of the products, but essentially it might have been 4 to 6 SKUs. And we launched those all at the same time in November 2014. And I think we really, really focused on product selection and both of the products took off really quickly. And so we grew very, very fast. So we got to 50K a month in 6 months, which we were just ecstatic about because we had no idea that was going to happen. We what we know now, I'm getting almost goosebumps, Daniel, telling you about it because it's just so exciting, that trajectory that happens. And man, it's like, you got to be ready for it because once it happens, you've really got to just be dialed in and ready to go. And there's so many challenges that come up along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's what I also tell people about, it's like, you have to be ready to sustain that growth, right? Because it explodes. Once you got something, it just explodes, right?
Yeah, it does. And you can get one of the really big challenges we had. So we got to that 6 months in, 50K a month. We were ecstatic with how everything was going. And so Monica and I got all excited and said, this is a piece of cake. Let's just launch another 10 products in 10 different categories. And I kind of ignored the initial training, which said, find complementary products to one niche and stick with that. Mm-hmm. We didn't do that. We went and chose a whole bunch of products and thought, if we can get a start in 5 or 6 different categories and then expand all of those, wow, like we just kept multiplying the numbers of what would happen. Mm-hmm. And it didn't work that way. So we launched a bunch of products that tanked. And at the same time, a bunch of products tanked. Our hero product, which was our best seller, that was responsible for about 80% of that 50K a month, had a massive production issue. So about 1,000 units left our and it arrived at Amazon. And within about 2 weeks, our account just got shut down. We were like, what's happening? All of a sudden, super bad reviews, complaints, returns. And it turns out our supplier or someone in their factory, when they were packing our goods, they put the wrong part in. And it was a key part of the product. And it just, it really crushed us because at the time we were actually traveling in Europe. And we... all of a sudden our sales went from whatever 50K a month is daily down to like 10% of that. Oof. We just had all of these orders on the way that we had to pay for, the shipping that goes with that. We had no money to launch the next ones. And the business was pretty much over. It was gone. Mm. So some huge lessons, obviously in quality control was the number one. We implemented a lot of processes around that now. And so we're really, really, really tough on that. And I think the further Amazon goes along, the better you have to get at those kind of things. Yeah. But essentially, Monica and I had to fund. We had to, what did I do? I think I actually remortgaged the property, or I did something basically to get some cash out. And we basically had to inject more money into the business to save it. Mm-hmm. And luckily we had some cash to be able to do that. And it's been pretty good since then. We have our ups and downs, but that was the big learning. And I think it was actually good that we had that one early on, because if we didn't have it, I'm someone who just takes lots of risk. Like you said, I go super hard at stuff. And so this was kind of a good wake up call. I'm glad we had it then and not now.
Yeah. It was kind of like the business, grew too fast and then imploded. And I've had this happen too. Like I remember one brand, we had like the supplier mess up the voltage on the electricity. So people were saying like this thing could like turn my house on fire, and it's so bad that something like that happens. Like it really is critical to dial in your supply chain and your manufacturing, and to make sure that stuff doesn't get messed up, because then you can really have a big issue, right? So that's something you've learned, obviously. And how did you recover?
Well, we essentially, we just said, okay, let's reassess how we're doing this. And so the products that weren't working, the new ones, we said, you know what, let's just sell through the inventory, let those go, and let's immediately focus on building out the niche that's working for us. And that's really where we focused. And so we did then launch several complementary products we found that as we launched complementary products with the similar search terms, we found that because we already had a couple of products that were doing very well and ranking extremely well, and Amazon kind of gives you an automatic boost. And so we found that we're finding it was much easier to rank products. We found because we were going after the same search terms on page one, there might be 4 or 5 of our products. So we were kind of dominating, a few pages there for particular search terms. And that was really probably the smartest move we did. And that's also the time when we said, okay, we really want to focus on one brand. And we said, okay, this is our brand. That's our focus. And we started really putting the effort into, building a list externally, social media, our own site. We started really doing all of those other things to build a real brand. And it's a great thing. I'm glad we've done it. But it's also it does feel a little bit risky. You feel a bit exposed with just this one vertical of product. Yeah.
I think there's so much value in building the brand, right? Because you have everything kind of starts to compound now, and everything you're doing, pays dividends over time because you're building something substantial. You could sell it. And like you say, it's easier to rank new products, things like that. So I guess that was one of the big lessons, right? Is hey, let's focus in on one thing and make that big.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the huge ones. The other one has really been a couple of things. So the first one being cash flow. It's really challenging in this business. And so I think if you're starting in Amazon now, I think you need to try and pull a bit more money together. And if that means pulling it off a credit card, borrowing it from friends and family, whatever you got to do, I think you need a little bit more money than what we probably needed back when we started. Obviously, it depends on the product and all of those kind of things, but I think you need a little bit more money now. But in particularly, as it starts to grow, your existing products grow, so you're having to order more and more of your existing product, but you're also launching new products, doing things like giveaways and all those kind of things where you're giving away a lot of inventory and things like that. And those types of strategies are expensive. And so as your current products are going up, you're launching these new ones, and the supply chain, again, you have to start, our suppliers start needing more and more time to produce the order. We want to get smarter with shipping. You don't want to put things on planes. We want to go by sea as slow as possible. Then you run into hitting limits at Amazon with your inventory, and you can have storage fees and all this kind of stuff. And so we've had to really focus on managing our cash flow. And so what we've done in this last year, really, so Daniel, you and I started doing the one-to-one coaching, and I really learned a lot from you about how you built your team out. And so one of the first people I went and got this amazing guy from the Philippines who's an accountant and CPA, but he's also done an MBA. So he's got this amazing financial experience, but he's also got a really good operational experience because of the MBA. So I've had him come in, and he's really owning, we've got budgets now, we've got cash flow that we do weekly to show where we're at. Every time we want to launch products, we know our pipeline now for the next year. He tells us what we can afford to launch when, all these kinds of things. And so that's been probably the best thing I've ever done. He manages our inventory. because we were constantly having the running out of inventory or too much inventory and all of those issues. And so that was really smart, getting that person in the team. And then there's been a couple of others that are just key now.
That's fantastic, because I think as entrepreneurs, like, we are visionaries. We want to keep going, we want to keep growing, and we need that person to balance us out, that kind of puts the brakes on a bit and, has that background in finance and they can do the math, the calculations. I know that's not something I look at. I don't I want someone to tell me because I just I would forget. It's not something that's in my DNA to be thinking about. I just think about the future. How can we grow? What can we do next?
Yep.
And I know you're the same way, so that's really awesome to hear. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I like to. I'm actually pretty comfortable reading all of the numbers and things, because my previous business, I had investors in early, and I had to answer to a board, and I had reporting and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty comfortable with the numbers, but the detail that he can get into, we've got a bit of an issue right now on Amazon where our US sales have just dropped about a month ago, and they've just stayed there. They dropped by about 30 or 40%, and about this guy. I've been emailing you about it, and it's a really tricky situation, because usually when there's a drop in sales on Amazon, I can figure out what it is pretty quick. I either know there's a problem with the product, or there was a holiday in the US, or there was some sort of weather messing up the East Coast, or whatever. There's usually something I can pinpoint it with. But this time around, we just had this big drop, and we're still trying to figure it out. But what's great is, again, this team. So, the guy that I was mentioning before, he's actually, really, really dug into the data and the reporting to really assess what's going on. And he's given me some great insights. And then the other side of it is our marketing agency. So that's another part where, I love the digital marketing side of it. I spent the first couple of years mastering, sponsored products on Amazon, really, really focused in on that, got really good at it. But it just got too big. It just got too onerous and too much detail for me to manage, as well as the rest of the business. So we ended up outsourcing that to a marketing agency in the US. And so that's an expensive decision, rather than, for example, outsource stuff somewhere for example, here in Indonesia or Asia. But I think it was a really wise choice, because that's helped scale our business, and they've also provided amazing insights into what's just happened, and we've got a game plan of how we're going to try and dig ourselves out of this.
Awesome. Yeah, so you've been able to invest into a team and delegation and processes and stuff as you've grown. And it's a hard thing too. You got to, when to do it is really tough. We had someone come in very early on, pretty much from the get-go in the US, to help out with customer service, because our products are a little bit technical, and the Amazon seller support guys just, they just can't possibly know enough about our products to help the customers. So we had to get someone in the US, in the time zone, that could actually have someone could call them and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But that person's now grown into essentially being what we call our platform manager. So she looks after everything Amazon related now. But yes, getting that team in, it really is important, but I think you have to be ready for it in building the processes first. Like you said, you sort of need to, note down all of the things that you either want to outsource or how to do them, and start doing the SOP kind of step by steps. And so when you bring those people in, they're kind of ready to go, and you've really got to be ready to give them the time too, because there's a learning curve. I've found every time we brought one of the sort of bigger hires in, it ends up being even more work for me for the first few months until they're up to speed. But then once they're there, you're like, oh, that was so worth it. Yeah, exactly. Because you're building brick by brick, you're building that team and that, system that keeps you growing, because you need that to be able to grow. Because like you mentioned, it's easy to burn out, because there's a million things you have to do. And with every product, there's more things. So how were you able to scale it? Once you came back from that dip, did you start with just one product then, or a few, or how did you grow from there? Yeah,
so the product that actually had the problems, we did get a bunch of bad reviews, but luckily we sunk a lot of money into some marketing, and we kind of almost relaunched the product. And we knew it was a great product. It was literally one batch. So we removed all of the units that were part of this batch. We were out of stock for a couple of months while we did a new production run, got it back in. But as soon as we got that one back in, we had a couple of others on the way. And it's sort of, I don't think we got above 50K again for the rest of 2015. But to give you some rough idea on the numbers, Daniel, we did what was it? 2016, we hit about 750,000 US in sales. So that was sort of where we recovered out of that. And then in 2017, 2016, 750. And then 2017, we nearly hit 3 million in sales, which was just, keeping up with that was just insane. We launched a lot of products, and one of the mistakes that we often make is Monica works on several products at once. And what we try to do is launch them as they're ready, and we try to spread them out. But what typically happens is, because we do a fair bit of customization on our products, they're not just typical white label. We do a fair bit to parts of our product. It involves getting, molds made and things like that, and design work. And so what often happens is we end up with a whole bunch of products ready to go all at the one time. And me being me and wanting to see that growth, kind of go, you know what, screw it, let's just launch them all. And so we'll throw heaps of money and launch the first, get the first products up, do all of the sort of promotion and launch. And then it's just like cash flow crunch for about 6 months, just trying to catch up with those launches. And we've made that mistake a few times. We're actually about to do it again now, I think, because we're really confident with our numbers and cash flow, but because we've just seen this dip we're having at the moment on our US sales, which is the biggest part. We've got a whole bunch of new products kind of in production that we're going to struggle to pay for. So I'm having to work with the suppliers now to give us a bit of a break and slow down the production, or store the goods for a little bit, all that kind of thing. Plus working out better terms with our long-standing suppliers. Yeah.
You guys don't hesitate to launch new products. I know that. So just so people know, like, how many products do you have roughly right now?
Actually, it's not as many as you may think. I think we're still well under 30 SKUs. And so that's 4 years in. But what we have is the good thing about our business is our products have a part that needs to be replaced. And so that part that needs to be replaced keeps the customers coming back and back. And I think that's one of the secrets that's kind of helped us grow as fast as we do, because every one of these products has a replacement part, and all the customers keep coming back. And, now we have, people doing the subscribe and save on our own website. We have people, similar sort of subscribe and save type thing. And so the more we sell and the more customers we build over these years, the more and more of the replacement parts we sell as well. And so that's why I think we've managed to only have sort of, 20 to 30 SKUs.
Yeah, it's cool. And I hadn't told you before, but just the other day I actually bought one of your products, and I'm using it now. It's really awesome because I needed one of those things, and I was like, hey, I'll buy it from Dan. So it's cool. Like, I just love that part of it too. Like, now you have something that's real. Like, there's so many people that are using your products. And how does that, like, is that something that you get pleasure out of, and like your customers serving them again, things like that?
Yeah, 100%. So Monica in particular is extremely passionate about the actual products. And so I know in the Amazon game, some people are just straight up looking to make money. One of the things that I've always really focused on in business is I want to do business and make a lot of money. Totally a capitalist, that's for sure. But I want to do business that's good for people. And so I've kind of generally stuck around the health and well-being space, even in my previous businesses and all the way through to now. And it's, it's always a huge growth area, but it's just so important to people. And some of the, the feedback we get from customers, you get people telling us that, our products have helped them with all sorts of, ailments and injuries and diseases and things like that. And yeah, it's amazing for us. And so Monica's extremely, she's become a bit of a subject matter expert in our area that, she had no idea about when we launched the first product. So yeah, we are very passionate about making sure the products are super high quality. I think if you don't do that now, Amazon being so competitive, you're just not going to survive. It's pretty brutal out there if your products aren't good enough.
Oh, absolutely. They have it built in, so they're quick to detect that stuff. So if the reviews and stuff, the product will stop selling if it's crap, But yeah, I saw that in your reviews, like on that particular product, people saying it changed, some serious things for them. So that's amazing. Like, that's really what, at least for a lot of people, that's what it's about, creating impact, right? While building an awesome business. So that's cool that you chose something that you got that element going as well. It's really motivating.
Yep. And so now we're just looking really to where to from here, because we're, we're up on, we've been on, it's been 4 years, obviously in Amazon US, Canada is probably about 3 years. The UK 2 years now, and Europe's probably been the last sort of year and a half that we're focused on. And it's kind of nice to have that spread now, because when you see that, like this dip that I was talking about we're having in the US right now, because the UK is also doing really great, it's kind of softened the blow a little bit. If we were just in the US, it would be really hurting us right now. Like it's kind of helped out. But now we're sort of at that point where, a year ago when we started talking, you suggested we double down on Amazon, and that's exactly what we did. We were about to start looking at other sales channels, in particular our own website. And it was definitely the best decision at that time. But now we are at the point where we're thinking of actually bringing someone else into the team to help expand into other areas. Like we'd like to get into retail. We'd like to get into some other e-retailers. We've got a wholesale and affiliate kind of things get set up at the moment. We're getting agreements and contracts. So we get approaches all the time. People are, the business gets noticed once you start, especially once you have a decent, number of SKUs and they're all doing quite well. You get noticed out there. And so we get approaches all the time now for, people that want to be a distributor or an exclusive partner in this country or that country. And most of the time we've just always said no, just because it's been too hard to explore. But I think that might be the next step for us. That's probably where we're gonna head next, because I still feel like there's a lot on the line with this one brand, all just Amazon. I feel like we have to start branching out a little bit. Yeah.
You can achieve some of that diversification through the other international like storefronts, which you've done. But I think when you have a product that's starting to be something really good, you've evolved it into basically more than just private label. Like it's starting to be like your own thing. Now that's when you have an opportunity to do those sort of things that you're talking about, because it's something real. Like it's not just, it takes time. Like starting out with something customized is not something that I think anyone should really consider, especially if you're tight on casts and stuff. But then you can evolve it into that. So it's really your own products.
And that's kind of what we did, Daniel. So, I'm very lucky in that if I was doing the business on my own and I was just working with sourcing agents and things like that, we probably wouldn't have picked the products that we've picked, because they are a bit technical. They do take a lot of work and there's a lot of learning. But yeah, if you're starting out, you definitely want to just stay super focused on, keep it simple to start with, learn the platform, learn the process of finding the products and all of that stuff. Take your time, because the product selection is so important. Don't be in a hurry and just focus on doing one thing right. And then once you got that, move on to the next, because it's very, very easy out there, especially with all of these so-called gurus out there suggesting that you do this and you do that. And, there's about 1 million different marketing channels you should be doing, and you should be on every social media network and all of this stuff. We just kind of cut out that noise. And for me, I think I learned that from my previous businesses. You've really just got to put the blinders on and say, do you know what? I'm just sticking with one thing. And that's why with your program, and I've done several Amazon courses by different people, but your last one, Infinity Code, right? It's just such a good step by step. It's measurable. It's just stick with that. Just don't get distracted by anything else. That'd probably be the best tip that I could give anyone who's starting out. And as for the customization, I'm really lucky that I've got Monica, because she basically spends her days 10 hours a day on product development and building and sourcing, and she's got a full-time sourcing assistant now, and she's full-time just doing that. And so if I had to do that as well as running the business, then no. So customization is probably not the best thing unless you're starting with a partner from scratch, I'd say.
Yeah. And it's something that I think takes up like 50% of your time, like you're saying, like just the sourcing and product development. So it's something you have to get either like delegated, outsourced, or just don't really go there, into detail like you guys are doing. It's a different skill set too. It's a really different skill set. That whole, I don't really enjoy the sort of searching for products. Like Monica has this ability to just go down the rabbit hole online and find suppliers and stuff. Whereas I just don't have the patience. I'm much more like you, high level, want to just kind of go and kick ass on stuff. So again, I'm really lucky to have her. Yeah, that's awesome. You have a fantastic partner, and I can relate, because my wife, would be doing the exact same thing if we had a brand too, because that's more of her personality, the detail, like the design, that kind of stuff. I have no patience for that. And I think most sellers actually love the marketing and that kind of stuff, because that's exciting. Like you're getting results and that sort of stuff. But I want to bring up like the point you made. This is so good, like staying focused, because I made that a whole like kind of theme of Infinity Code for that reason, because I think that's the number one problem people have, like in general in business, not just Amazon, but being kind of too all over the place and getting distracted and looking at all these different options you can try and all these different marketing tactics and stuff. So on that note, like what would you say are the most important things to focus on in this business? Just like few things that really everyone should focus on.
I made some notes before our call, Daniel. I'm trying to think of some of these things there. The things that I'd really focus on, obviously when you're starting out, the product selection part is just key. If you choose the right product, you launch it well, and it gets off to a great start, it's just such a good foundation. So I'd really say take your time and focus on the product selection part first. Learn it. Really do a good job of that. Focus on your packaging. In my view, you should start with building a brand from the get-go. You don't want to just launch something that's, maybe you could do that a few years ago when we started, but I think now you really want to launch a brand, and it doesn't have to take forever to create one. You don't have to, it's pretty quick to get design work done and those things, but at least get started on what you want to do with the brand. To start with, I would say forget social media and things like that. I'd say forget external traffic, all of those kind of things. Just focus on the Amazon platform. So you really need to learn how to launch. You really need to learn how to do the advertising, because that's really going to help you get that volume and get you seen and ranked and all of that kind of thing. But then really learn the numbers side of things as early as you can. And so if you're someone that hasn't, run other businesses and things like that, I would go and upskill yourself. I'd go and find a coach or a mentor, or do a basic course just to learn how to, something simple online, learn how to read a P&L and balance sheet, use some accounting software. And there's so many great tools out there now. You don't need to be technical. There's so many third-party things that plug into Amazon and your own software and stuff. And so, those would probably be the main ones that I really focus on.
So you use KPIs and some numbers, right, to kind of look at your progress over time?
Yeah, so we use a bit of a hybrid. So because we were quite a way along in our business when we did Infinity Code, and I started working with you, we'd already sort of created some other systems, and so I was trying to like mesh these sort of systems together. And so what we've got is it's a bit of a hybrid, but our KPIs are probably slightly different to what you teach, just because of the types of products and where we're at and things like that. But 100% we follow KPIs and metrics, and what we have now typically is a yearly budget where we forecast out what sort of numbers we want to do every month, and it's not just the revenue, it's the expenses, the profitability, all of those things. And then every month we update those to actual numbers so that we can see how we're tracking, all of those kind of things, and we're watching where can we reduce costs, because it's very easy as you start making lots of revenue to think, hey, I've got all this money, and start taking on all these extra costs.
Yeah.
And so, you sort of got to be careful of that too. So but metrics for sure. We definitely focus on that. Everyone that is in my team now has checklists of things that they need to do. Daily, weekly, fortnightly. I have weekly catch-ups with all the key people in the team. The finance guy, he has a huge amount of stuff to give me at basically this time, sort of just at the start of a new month. He gives me all the reporting for the previous month. And I even have people in the team doing things like checking listings and checking pricing. And, we've just got a lot of checks and ticks and crosses everywhere to make sure the thing just keeps running properly.
Awesome. So basically, like, to sum it up, like, it would be, carefully select your product, your niche. Don't, rush into that because it's really important. And then focus on the quality of the products. Make sure they're really, really good. And then obviously you have the numbers, the tracking. Kind of in the middle there, or I guess the third thing, like the marketing. Can you go into like some more specifics on what you really get the most out of? Like, it's advertising, right? Like sponsored ads.
Yeah. To talk about our advertising now. So, like I said, it was about 6 months ago now. I had to make the decision. I was spending about half of my week just on sponsored products, just really constantly tweaking bids and budgets and all that kind of stuff. And the more products that you launch and the more campaigns that you launch, it just gets really onerous. And the more time you do keyword harvest and add more keywords and negative keywords and all the stuff that goes in there, it's just huge. So it's half my week. And the other half of the week was all of the stuff around inventory management, shipping, all the logistics around staying in stock all the time. And so that was where I decided I need to outsource those two things. And so the marketing agency that we took on in the US about 6 months ago, they've basically taken what I was already doing and then have scaled it big time. So because there's a dedicated account manager who's working on that, their ability to just get much more efficient with the ads and all that kind of things, that's really worked. So we focus on sponsored products is still a huge part. We do AMS. So we do the headline search and the product display ads. And now we've actually just started to invest in Google Shopping, Google text ads that we're driving both to our site and to our storefront on Amazon because it's trackable, which is something that's pretty new. And so we've started to expand out. But if you're starting out, sponsored products is where it's at still. Just get good at that. And now inside sponsored products, you've got headline search. So you've got half of what AMS is right in there now. So it's easy for anyone to learn.
And did you guys focus on like ranking for specific terms? Did you track that and things like that as well?
Yeah, so we've pretty much followed your methodology on that kind of thing. So we focused on about 20 keywords, so probably a few more than what you suggest, but they're all pretty closely related. And we really just, and we did that always, even 4 years ago when we started by working out the search volume for a bunch of keywords and saying that's a good space to play in, assessing the competitors and all the other things before we sort of jumped in and started looking for the product. And I think that was another thing that we did well, is we followed those steps of actually figuring out the search terms. So now it's still like that. We're in a good position now where, because we're in this same vertical, usually the keywords are pretty much the same. And so each time now, there's only slight tweaks to the keywords that we focus on and things like that. And we seem to, we're really holding our ranks pretty well. One thing I've noticed recently, actually, and this is part of this dip we're having at the moment, is I was trying to focus on the ACOS inside Seller Central, so the return on your ad spend. Yeah. And I wanted to have it at about 30% or less all the time. And what I found was, because that's profitable for us, that means we're making money on our ads all day long, and I can keep spending more and more and more. But what I found was at 30% now, maybe a couple of years ago it was possible, but I found now to get under 30%, we don't get as much ad exposure, which then means not as much volume, and then means not as much organic sales as well. And so our ranks start to drop. And so for us, we've learned this just recently, that the sweet spot for us is the high 30s in the ACOS. And while on some products that's not profitable for us, because there's the volume there and then the organic sales and rank, it still ends up working out on the numbers. So again, the numbers are important.
Yeah. That's great. So I just love how you guys have been able to just really say, hey, these are the things that matter. And instead of getting distracted by, all kinds of different strategies, you stuck to the basics and you focus instead on scaling, like adding more products, growing, instead of like, oh, let's try this and let's try that. And obviously most of those things aren't going to work that well. So in terms of conversions, what sort of stuff have you done to really get your products to convert and sell? Because that's really important as well.
Yeah, okay. So we've really focused on high quality products from the get-go. So in our space, we're nearly the most expensive, which, people have different strategies on pricing and things like that. But we're always pitching ourselves kind of a little bit above the middle, sort of middle point for pricing. But we've been able to do that because the quality's there. We've really started to invest now in, as the consumers have become more educated, they challenge us, explain how your product actually does what you claim kind of stuff. You get challenged, and this isn't to us directly. They'll do that publicly on Amazon, and we're like, whoa, we've got to be able to answer this. And so, there's a bit of science behind our products. And so, we've really focused on actual lab testing, various elements that go into our product and the different mix and how that works. And so that's been one of the big things, is to just get the quality really, really dialed in so that we can back up everything that we say. We've constantly evolved our packaging. And so as we've had a bit more money and as we've developed the brand, we've refreshed products that were older products, and things like that. And then customer service. We've just, we've really it's a big cost in our business, which a lot of people probably wouldn't like to have. But for us, it means really happy customers, better quality reviews, better feedback. And so we essentially now have, we've got 3 people on customer service, 2 in the US, 1 in the UK actually, and then 1 in the Philippines. And we're available on chat on our website. You can call us on a 1-800. You can get us through Seller Central, through Seller Messaging. So we've got about 4 or 5 different ways that people can get us 24/7. So we've got people doing shifts all around the world. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've managed to, continue to get really great feedback.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah. So like in terms of obviously conversions on your listing, like you're saying, like the feedback, the reviews, the interaction with the customers is huge. Is there anything in terms of like images or things that you say or offer with the product that has made a difference for you?
Yeah, that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up. So, we use a lot of, we use 3D renders now instead of photography. And that was something that I learned from you. And, it's a bit of an investment, but wow, they look good. And it really shows. Like when you get someone good, like we've got a guy who's amazing, it's not a fast process. So you've got to be well planned to have those done in time for launching products. But definitely those images have helped. And for us, we try not to crowd the images too much. A lot of people you see putting extra loads of text and all sorts of stuff in there, and it just looks like a mess. Mm-hmm. We've tried to focus on just getting really, really clean clean images. And then in terms of our bullet points and descriptions, we go pretty long on those. We use the maximum character limits and all that kind of stuff because our products need explanation. And so we really try to, it's not so much about stuffing keywords into them. It's just about trying to really educate the customer. And so we try to find that nice balance between search terms and actually educating the people that might be buying the product.
Yeah. That's great. Have you done any like A-grade listings with images, and have you done any of that? Those are updates for your products?
Say that again. So A-grade, what do you mean?
Like where you pay Amazon to have like an image description kind of thing, or have you done anything like that?
No, no. So the only things that we have done is enhanced brand content. And so that's actually another lesson that we've had sort of not that long ago, where we had enhanced brand content, but one thing we didn't do early enough was go and get all our trademarks sorted out. And so we're still going through the trademark processes now. And for many of our SKUs, we lost enhanced brand content. So that's a bit of a shame, because it does work really well to have something very graphical. And so for the products where we don't, that's where we're trying to create almost infographics just on 1 or 2 images, not overdoing it, just so you can really point out some key features in some of the images. Yeah. So
you found that to be really useful when you have done that in the past?
Yeah. We try and test those sorts of things, but it definitely feels like that's better for us. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. In terms of you personally, that's been a lot of great advice. I was met you and Monica in Bali, and you guys have a really cool life there. What has been the most important thing in terms of this business doing for you personally? Is it freedom? Is it just being able to do something that you enjoy? Is it being able to live in Bali, or what is it?
Okay, I want to give you a really honest answer, Daniel, because it's really easy to sit here and say, oh, it's all like sipping cocktails and surfing, but it just isn't. It just isn't like that. We're still working really hard. In fact, we've only this past January was the first time we actually felt like when we went on a holiday, it was an actual holiday where we switched off. So in the past, we've often gone. Monica's from Norway, so we've often gone to Europe. My family's in Australia, and we've traveled a lot, but we're always working as we go, and so you're never switching off. And so the most important thing that, not so much that we have now, well, actually we do. So probably the most important thing is that we control our days. We love that we work from home. So there's no commuting. There's none of that sort of stuff. And so Monica and I have very different work styles, even work hours. And so for me, it's great. I can get up. I love to go and either do some surfing or yoga or the gym or something really early, like super early, 5:30, 6 in the morning, get that out of the way first. Or if there's no waves, I'm straight into the work. But I usually I'm done by about 4. And Monica, on the other hand, she kind of works later in the day. So for us, that freedom to sort of choose how our day runs, that's probably the most important thing to us, that we get to control the day. And part of I guess the speed that we scale and the speed that we build our team is all based on lifestyle. So if we had to go and get an office, put a bunch of people in there and go every day, we just wouldn't do it. We'd slow down. So for us, it's really important to keep that mobility. We have a lot of trust in our team. We really want, our mantra in life is definitely sort of, build freedom. It's definitely lifestyle focused. So that's the most important thing for us. And Bali's a great place for that.
Yeah, it is. So you basically want to get to a point where you work yourself kind of out of the business more, right? Where you have to do less. Yeah,
well, at the moment, we're actually considering selling the business, which is something that we're, So, it's something that's where we've got a few different options of what we might do, but it's either got to be, we'd like to step out more and more, or we'd like to sell it. And the only reason why we're even thinking more around the selling is it's quite difficult. I think I could probably step myself out of the business, but to take Monica out of the business is quite tough because she's the one with the product knowledge. She knows the niche intricately. She's got all the relationships. So to hand that stuff over and have someone own it like she does and have that same amount of drive, I'm just not sure that person is out there, or they're not out there that we can afford.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So man, selling it is always an option. It could be a really cool option as well, and you could probably sell this one for quite a big sum of money with what you've built up, just build up a brand instead of just a bunch of different products that aren't related, something like that. So
I think we could definitely get a good price and sell it, and that would then give us the sort of freedom that we want. Monica and I are quite passionate about. We'd love to go and do some other things out there in the world that are less money focused and more giving back and that kind of stuff. We've got that sort of drive in us, and so we're both around 40 years old, and we're sort of thinking, if we can cash out and then go and do something great, that's cool. But at the same time, if we can. We'd probably have to slow down the growth a little bit and start taking more money out if we were going to keep the business. But at the moment, we've just kept putting it back in and kept scaling. So we'd have to really make a conscious decision to pull that handbrake and say, do you know what? We're happy at this level. It's now going to be a cash machine. And that's difficult for me to do.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you're more in tune with just building it up, scaling it, and then selling it. That's what a lot of entrepreneurs do. And they say you can make a lot of money, or more money, I should say, doing that than just running the business, right? I'm excited to hear how that goes and what you kind of get, as offers and stuff. Because I'm sure there's other brands now that would love to buy you out and just acquire you.
Yeah, I think we're kind of at that stage. So we've started some early discussions with brokers and stuff like that, and started to understand a little bit about who buys these kind of businesses, and is there much of a market? What sort of multiples do you get for it, and how the valuations work? And to be honest, we've sort of really thought about that over the last sort of the last year or so. We've sort of been thinking about that, but it's something that might be a few years down the track for us. It's not something that's right here, right now, because there's a lot of things to consider. And at the moment, we're still loving it. And right now, we're absolutely loving our team in particular. It's so nice this last year to have a team that's just works so nicely together. Everyone does their role. We're so lucky to have a great bunch of people in the team. And so, I'm not ready to let go of that yet. I don't think I'm really enjoying that part of the business right now.
Yeah. So you're busy, but in a way it's enjoyable. And I agree, building a team is one of the best things in terms of that. Like, you really enjoy that aspect where you're building culture. You're obviously providing these people with an opportunity as well. Like, they're feeding their families, they're having a nice job. And it's really, that's enjoyable. Like the people aspect, right? It becomes, even if it's online, it becomes, more of a kind of like interactive business in terms of having people around versus just sitting on the laptop alone all day working on it.
It's super nice. Like, we give everyone a lot of freedom because we like to have freedom. So we pretty much have the rule with everyone. As long as the work gets done, we don't mind when it happens or how it happens, as long as it gets done. And what we've found with, I think a lot of people are a bit worried about hiring people remotely or outsourced or whatever terminology you want to use, but we've actually had nothing but good experiences. We've always taken our time to find the right person, but we've only had one person lead our team in 4 years, and now we've got a team of 7 or 8, and they love it, and they get so excited. We have group chats, and everyone gets really excited when a product does well, and you know, even someone's birthday, everyone's in on it, and you know, it's just cool. It's so nice to have that, you know, that culture, like you said.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so your people are in the Philippines. You have someone? Do you have someone in Bali or US, or what does that look like?
Our team.
Yeah.
So we've got. Yeah, so we've got our core sort of platform manager and customer service in the US. Our design team are actually in the UK, and they also help out with a bit of customer service and even some product return stuff. And then we have our finance head, sort of finance operation guy in the Philippines, plus two other people in the Philippines. One focused on sort of more VA activities, and the other one on sort of sourcing. And that's kind of, and then Monica and I. So yeah, that's sort of the core team. So we have a mix of people from all over the place.
Yeah, it's a global team for sure. That's cool. Yeah. Look, I don't want to take too much of your time. We've been on here for, I think, almost an hour. So I know you're busy. You've got plenty to do. But I really, really appreciate the time. And I know everyone watching this does as well. Is there anything you want to mention, like that we haven't talked about? Any advice, anything, any like final words that you have?
Look, I think honestly, Daniel, we've covered everything. As you can probably tell, I could talk all day long if you let me. You know, I am passionate about this. It is so exciting.
Yeah.
You know, it's full of challenges, but every business is. They're just different challenges and different sorts of businesses. So, you know, the only thing I'd really mention is just, you know, if you're already in this, hang in there, stay focused, and just work through the problems. You 95% of the time you come out the other side, you know, better for it. And for anyone who's thinking about having a go, you got nothing to lose. Like just give it a go, and but just stay focused. Yeah, follow the steps. So yeah, you know, I can't say enough about you know, the time I've spent with you personally, and also doing your programs and things. For us, they've for sure worked. They're a huge part of how we've scaled up. And so, you know, for people, whoever's listening to this, wherever, yeah, I would strongly say just get into it.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. And by the way, anyone watching this, there's a link below the video if you are new to this, with a quick crash course on our methodologies. You can kind of see some of the things we've been talking about in terms of how we do it in more of a data-driven, scientific way. But yeah, thanks so much, Dan. I really appreciate the time. And I look forward to talking to you again soon, hopefully. And obviously, keep me posted on how everything goes, and we'll chat soon.
So will do. Thanks a lot, mate. Bye.
Bye-bye.